Okay, so welcome. Here we are now on the fourth day of the Royal Welsh Show again. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Ian. I'm Detective Inspector Paul Hall. I'm with South Wales Police. However, I'm currently seconded to a cyber department called the Wales Cyber Resilience Centre for Wales, and we cover the 4 Welsh police forces. Our focus is very much on helping businesses in Wales understanding the risks of cybercrime, but at the same time what they can do to protect themselves as well. And when we talk on businesses, we're talking about organisations, but we're also talking about farmers as well and farms, and we're just trying to make them aware of the current risk of cybercrime.
Yeah, and this is a growing threat to farmers in Wales.
Yes, sadly it is. Cybercrime accounts now for 50% of the crime in the UK is all cyber and fraud related. So it's a big problem affecting all organisations across the country and across the UK. However, sadly, we have seen over the last couple of years a bit of an increase in local farmers who are being targeted by criminals online. And sadly, some of those farmers have actually lost quite considerable sums of money. And for some people, it can be the difference between surviving as a farmer in tough economic times, or sadly as an organisation, as a company, as a farm, going under.
Yeah. So, and we were chatting earlier, and it's not often obvious that this cyber threat isn't obvious. It might be an innocent-looking email from a company asking for money, not a lot of money in a lot of cases. But is that the way this sort of attacks are going nowadays?
Yeah, they're certainly becoming a bit more subtle in what they're asking for, but at the same time, the emails or the phishing emails are becoming a little bit more sophisticated to what they were maybe 10 years ago. 10 years ago, a lot of the emails would have been quite bad spelling, bad grammar. What they were asking for was just ridiculous, asking for large sums of money. And people thought, oh, there's something quite wrong with this. This is an obvious scam. Whereas today now, what they tend to do is pick on someone, especially someone who you potentially could trust. So it could be someone who could be supplying you a product, farm products, animal feed. It could be someone coming from maybe FUW. It could be someone, maybe another family member, but it could be someone where someone's email address has been fully compromised. So when that email address is coming to you, you look at that email, you trust in that person who sent that email, but it's what they're asking you to do. If they're telling you, as an organisation, we've changed our bank details, we are now banking with another company, and they give you the account number, don't just go updating your systems to say this is a new system. Phone the company up and double check, have you really changed your bank details? Because how many organizations change bank details? It's not often it happens. So when it does happen, it's very rare. So you've got to double check. At the same time, if a supplier comes to you and they say, we've made a terrible mistake, we've undercharged you in our last invoice, you still owe us an outstanding balance of £72.46. Not a huge amount of money, something, but it's still a quantity of money. But at the same time, don't just automatically pay it. Phone the company up and double check, But at the same time, people might think this is easy and simple advice. However, when we were talking earlier, one of the biggest things I mentioned was when we have been too busy, when we're juggling too many things at once. And a lot of people, in fact, I've got my phone here now, run their business or run everything from their phone. They can pay bills on their phone. They can do everything on their phone. Farming is quite a tough working environment to be in. It's 24/7, 365 days a year. You could be on the back of your tractor, and all of a sudden you're trying to juggle quite a few things at once. And you've seen an email coming through from someone who's saying you owe them money, and before you know it, you're making a payment where really it's not them who sent that email. And it's easy for you to say, but it's about slowing yourself down sometimes and not rushing to do things. But again, they will also pick on companies such as the Inland Revenue, HMRC. They may pick on an energy provider, and they try to use scare tactics to say there's something wrong. You've got to do something now. Otherwise, you might be cut off. Otherwise, you may be having a bill coming your way. And it just puts a panic into people. I've got to do something now. No need to rush. Just phone the company up, phone the organisation up, and just double check. And that's one of the biggest things we want to get across to people.
Yeah, that's great. And that's great advice. And that you've outlined some of the red flags there and some of the action people can do. But I guess from a farmer's point of view, and I agree with all all the stuff you said earlier there. You know, we're busy people. We're rushed. We're stressed sometimes, and you know, we just click before we think. I guess it's a coin of phrase. But you know, obviously the bigger companies, your more established companies, FUW Insurance. You know, we've got we do cybercrime training for our employees. You know, the bigger companies are getting more aware of this issue and taking steps to mitigate it. But you know, what can we as farmers, what other things, apart from that, stop and think, what other things can we as farmers do to try and mitigate this?
Yeah, it goes for similar to an organisation. The first line of weakness is a human. We make mistakes. A criminal wants us to make a mistake to allow them access to our systems. More often than not, they can't do it by themselves, the criminal. They need the human to make an error. So the first line of defense is always going to be the human element. That goes for an organization, but that also goes for that individual farmer as well. So what we try to focus on, I will start off with awareness of those emails that are coming through from people who you potentially could trust, who are trying to get money from you. Double check with them. I'll then go on talking about passwords. Passwords are important now to have strong passwords. It is difficult because you're going to need a password for every different thing you go on. However, using a password such as Bilthwells1 and you're living in Bilthwells is not a very good idea, even if you are using a capital B. Okay, it's not a good password to be using because someone could guess that. Okay, but not only just guess it, they could also, criminals have got access to software now, and it's AI generated software which is allowing them to guess people's passwords by typing in different combinations. So it's not a human typing in, it's the software doing it for them. So what we try to focus on now is when you're having a password, making sure it's a strong password, and a strong password now is 15 characters. Not 15 letters, it's 15 characters. Now you'll probably be thinking, wow, that's a lot for me to remember here. The National Cybersecurity Centre, they've been doing some work around this, trying to think of ways how to help people remember passwords, and they've come up with something called 3 random words. Okay, so 3 non-random words for farmer could be cow, horse, sheep. They associate it with a farm, so those are not random words. But 3 random words could be blue, cycling, monkey. Okay, now then, they're 3 totally random words, but in my simple head, I have actually got a blue monkey on a bike. So I've got an image in my head of a blue monkey on a bike. When I'm putting in special characters, numbers, capitals and lowercase, I have just created a strong password. That's not my password, by the way.
Is it not?
No, it's not. Before everyone starts using that password. But it's a strong password. And that's what we're trying to get people to do, is create those strong passwords. But then taking a step further, and that is using multi-factor authentication or 2-step. So what that is, if I want to log on to something, I log on my password, my blue cycling monkey, and then all of a sudden I will get a text through onto my phone, or I'll have an authenticator app on my phone, and it will send me a code, and I will put that code in, and it allows me to get in. Okay, so the benefit of that, there's 2 different ways. It's a password one, and there's also something that's unique to me, which is a device. So if my password is actually guessed by someone who could be living in Llandudno, could be living in Cardiff, could be living in London, or it could be someone from overseas, and they know my password, if they haven't got my secondary device, they can't go any further. And that can protect me. And what I will have then is notifications on my phone saying, oh, here's your 6-digit PIN to sign into your online banking. I've been thinking, that's not me logging in. Somebody knows my password straight away then. So it's an extra layer of security, and that's really, really important. Some people think of it as an inconvenience. However, try to look at it as another layer, and it's totally free. It doesn't cost anything to do it. It's totally free. So just please consider doing that.
Yeah, and that's really good advice. So I know from my point of view, within our organisation, within FUWS and the FUW, you know, we have that, and that's a great explanation. Yeah. I did wonder why I had 3 random words, and I have to put them in twice because I got to. Anyway, that's a long story. Okay. But so we can, as farmers and individuals, we can get that two-stage authentication on our systems.
Yeah.
But where can we go to get that advice and some help if we're struggling to set up that kind of thing?
There's lots of different places to go for advice, but the best one that we direct people to is the National Cybersecurity Centre. They're the public face of GCHQ. Okay, so if you go onto their website, National Cybersecurity Centre, and literally they've got pages and pages full of really good advice. There's a section there for farming. There's a section there on charge. There's a section on all kinds of different things to help individuals, to help organisations as well. And they'll just go through different things with you, like how to get a good password, how to switch on multi-factor authentication. So it's a really good information tool to use, and it can guide you. And it's not that difficult to set up these things. Nothing we're telling you today is going to cost anything. Nothing we're telling you at all is going to take a lot of time to set up at all. And you don't need to be technically minded to do it. But all we're trying to get across to people is you've got to be aware the risk is real. It is happening out there. It is happening to Welsh farmers, sadly. However, what we are saying is by taking simple steps, it can be preventable. And what we do not want is another victim coming from Wales, from the farming community, where someone has lost a considerable sum of money. And criminals are also aware now of key times to strike. They will know when certain payments may be coming in to a farmer, maybe from grants or different things like that. So they are aware of things like that, and they may target you at those specific times as well.
Yeah. And that's fantastic advice, isn't it? So help is out there.
Yes.
Think before you click.
Yes,
Right?
I like that.
I like
Nice
that.
little
Yeah.
stop line.
Yeah, you can use that if you want.
Oh,
Okay?
don't copyright that.
And get that advice. If you're not sure, help is out there. Contact yourselves or the organisations alluded to there, and we can put some of the details of those up, and more than happy to share those. And also, just a reminder then for our members, the union is there as well. Your county office staff are there. If you're not sure about something and you want to double check, county office staff, if it's during working hours, obviously,
yes, of course, yeah.
then more than happy to help with that and give you some advice on whether it sounds dodgy or it doesn't sound dodgy. Okay. So thanks, Paul. Great conversation. Ian. Okay.
Thank you much.
Thank you.